Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today. I am live today with Dr. Lonnie Herman, and he was just telling me some pretty incredible stories about how he has helped patients with goals that they've set that they haven't been able to reach because there's actually blockages going on in their brain and with their health that are actually stopping their brain from wiring the way it's supposed to and to be more supportive in achieving your goals. So Dr. Lonnie, why don't you first just introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Hello, thank you for having me on this call today with you and your followers. My name is Dr. Herman, as you said, and I live and I work at this point in Southeast Florida in the United States. And we help people get better from all different types of diseases, whether it's lupus or MS and bladder disorders and heart disease and many other migraines and chronic fatigue and brain fog and many different things that we're very successful with. But when I saw that the type of audience that you have and the type of podcast that you do and what your business is, I really thought that this information would help people in your group and as well as many other people in the world understand what we've discovered, that people can literally be, without realizing they may have a block, as you just mentioned, a block in their central nervous system that will not let them reach the goal. That what's the word I'm looking for? Like the secret, the law of attraction can be blocked. And so that's going to be very interesting to get into this discussion with you. But we've got people who come to our clinic from literally other countries, as well as other states throughout the United States for this type of work that I offer. And it's very fulfilling. It's exciting. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing and thanks for being here. And tell me a little bit about how do we get blocked from what we call the law of attraction, and maybe quickly just say what the law of attraction is.
Sure. Well, the law of attraction, for what I understand, and people might know the book The Secret or the movie The Secret that came out years ago, and there are many other possible books since that came out. That was around 2005, perhaps. And when I saw that movie, I was just like, I watched it a few times. It was just so inspirational and wonderful. And I realized, because I hired some of the coaches who were in that movie to work on me. And I started to realize over time that no matter how many times that I was meditating and how many times I was writing messages down and how many different vision boards I created and how many different PowerPoints with great music that I was listening to, like getting inspirational with Rocky, the theme of Rocky and so on. I was just like I was not reaching the goals that I had, or at least quick enough. So I needed to see how I can actually reach those goals and speed up the process. And I believe that the human body, which is made up of a lot of energy, all of our cells are producing energy, and we are made up of energy. And, people can feel tension on a person if they walk into a room, that sixth sense or that intuition that you may have. You can feel if you walk in a room that's quiet, but there's 2 people, then it looks like maybe they had a fight, an argument before you walk in the room. You can feel that energy in the air. Or there are mothers who the child is away at school and the mother just knows that the child got sick without getting a phone call that the child is sick. There's a certain attraction that we have to certain people around us. And even one common type of attraction that most people have probably experienced is they could be standing and they went food shopping and they're standing at the line to, put their groceries on the whatever we call it, the counter there, that the person at the register is going to ring up the food for us to pay for those foods and take them home. And you turn around and you see that somebody's looking at you. It's like you catch eye-to-eye contact with the person who was looking at you. Well, how did that attraction just happen? There are certain scientists I studied in the UK and other parts of Europe who actually ran real true studies where they were able to prove that even with a person on a stage with their back to the audience, and they had, let's say, 5 people on the stage with their back facing the audience, and they would go behind the person and shine a laser on the person and say, we're gonna, and the audience had to focus their attention on that one person who the laser was pointing at. The person couldn't see the laser pointing at them. Over 90% of the time, the people whose back to the audience, when the focus was on that person, those people got the answer right, that they knew that the energy was all focused on that individual. So there's many different studies that have proven about our sixth sense, if we will, but also about the law of attraction. And with the law of attraction, we are beings of energy. It's just like energy can't be created or destroyed. We've heard that type of statement before. And we can also feel, there's, when somebody falls in love, there's it's this undeniable like bond that's created. Whether it's going to be a short or long-lived bond, that's another story. But the point is, we have an attraction, and just like magnets, we've all held 2 magnets together. Positive attracts the negative end, or negative attracts the positive end. We can actually attract to us what the goal is that we're set out to, that we're trying to achieve. So when we are that magnetic being, we want to attract, whether it's the Rolls Royce, or it's the that love of our life, or it's that we want to be able to graduate from a certain somebody wants to go back to school and get a certain degree, or reach a certain financial level through their business. We can either attract these different goals, or we could be repelling these goals without realizing we're repelling them. So we've got to create this magnetism about us so that we can attract that goal that we want to be in our surroundings, to be in our life. So the law of attraction, I look at it as we've got to be able to become that magnetic being, as I just said, that's going to be able to attract those different goals that we're looking for, whether it's a relationship goal, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's an accomplishment in maybe you're an athlete in sports. There are blocks that we discovered that will interfere in that magnetism towards that goal or those goals, that unless we can find those blocks and remove them, the law of attraction is, we're never going to get what we want. And some people do believe, as I did years ago, that if we just pray hard enough, if we just think about it enough, if we just focus our attention without doing, if we just focus our attention without the action, we're going to just have these things fall into our lap. And it just doesn't work that way. We do have to act on our goals, on our dreams. But again, even with actions, when you don't realize that you could be sabotaging all the actions you put into place, you could literally be sabotaging your attraction. So people can say, well, I've worked towards it, I've done all the steps, but I still couldn't achieve that. Why? What is it in me? And it's not about more meditation. It's not about more harder work. It's about smarter work. It's about finding the blocks, removing them so that we can get what we're looking for.
Love that. So take us through what's an example of some blocks or ways we repel what we are wanting to attract, and how do we start to remove those?
Excellent question. So well, let me take the second part of what you just said of how do we remove those. It takes a skilled practitioner to be able to find these and help you remove them with a unique system. And that's what I do. So I don't have a general supplement or protocol that you could just follow at home. I wish I could figure that out. It'd be a lot easier. Maybe that's a goal I have to set my mind on, to be able to figure that out. But as of today, what I have figured out is I can find these blocks and help people remove them. Now, let's understand. And I want you to just imagine for a moment that you were, I had you come out to my clinic for me to do my type of exam on you. And you get to the airport, you decide you're not going to take an Uber, you rent a car. I'm only 15 minutes from this international airport here in South Florida. You rent a car, you drive the car to my clinic, and I tell you, listen, everybody in the city went away for the whole month. Everybody's on a summer break. You come here, you can leave the car running, leave the key in the ignition, leave the windows down. You've got a full tank of gas. Nobody's going to take your car. Just leave it in the parking lot, windows down, radio on, engine running. When you come in here, we work together for 4 hours. You're going to go back outside. Your car is going to be there. Trust me. And if it's not there, I will pay for the expense. Okay. Your car, if it's stolen, I'll handle the situation with the rental car company. All right. Your responsibility is removed from it. So you come here, you leave your car in the in the parking lot. The engine's running. After we're done with our exam, you go back outside, the car's still there. You even wrote down the mileage on the odometer, and it was only 222 miles when you parked it. It's still 222 miles. Nobody drove the car. Nobody drove it and brought it here, back and forth, okay? So the car's still there. That machine doesn't run without the driver behind the steering wheel. If you got in that car and you drove that machine called a car, that car is going to perform the way that you make it perform. If you gave me the key and said, here, you drive me, I don't want to drive, I'm too tired, drive me to the airport, please, and I drive it, it's going to perform differently because I'm the driver now behind it. If you gave my wife the keys and told her to drive it, trust me, she's going to drive it totally different than either one of us drive it. She's got a very heavy foot on the gas, so it will drive differently. The point is, the machine doesn't drive itself. You driving that machine in this idea that I'm painting for you, your brain and your body, your being. You want to be the driver. It's going to perform the way that you make it drive. If I drive it, it's going to perform different. Same machine, but it's going to perform differently. Now imagine for a moment. Imagine that one day you were 14 years old and everything was going well and you got sick and you got mono Epstein-Barr virus infection. And that Epstein-Barr virus, in addition to getting into your lungs, and making you cough, and it got into your sinuses and making you congested sinus. It also got in your bloodstream and it went up to your brain. And after a week or two, when you feel better, fever is gone, congestion in the lungs, congestion in the sinuses are gone, you notice that you got a headache and you got brain fog. You're just not feeling right. You try to wait it out, you take some vitamins, you try to go in the sauna, you try to stretch, you're not getting better. You go to a doctor, I need a blood test. They can't find anything wrong. Thyroid's okay, your adrenals are okay, blood sugar's okay, kidney function, liver, everything is fine. But you know, they run an MRI in the brain. They can't find anything wrong with your brain. Why is your brain foggy? Why do you have this serious headache? And so eventually you just realize if you take aspirin or ibuprofen, the headache goes away, but you're not in control of the vehicle because the Epstein-Barr virus that got into your brain is triggering certain reactions to take place in your brain. You understand that made you still have the brain fog and made you have the migraine headache or the headache. Headache goes away with a pill. Brain fog is still kind of there, but you power through it. And now you're 20 years old and you're still kind of a little fatigued and brain fog, but you're not sick. You don't feel sick, but the Epstein-Barr virus is still in your brain. It never left the driver's seat, in other words, of the car. You follow me? So now when that Epstein-Barr virus is in the brain and it's going to drive you and it begins to control, literally, it begins to control the way the brain function is taking place. It can offset some of the production of the serotonin in the brain. Maybe the serotonin is being produced normal, but it starts to reduce the areas that catch the serotonin to make parts of the frontal lobe in the brain, for example, work. It's not going to be able to absorb the serotonin properly. So what would happen when that Epstein-Barr virus is now making you never truly believe that you can reach whatever, let's just say you have a goal of $10,000 income in a month, or let's say it's 100,000, or let's say it's $1 million. The Epstein-Barr virus is going to not let you achieve that. Or let's say it's not just Epstein-Barr. Let's say you were also at 12 years old, you had a strep throat and you took an antibiotic to get rid of the strep bacteria that was in the throat, but that strep never really left your body. And it also went up to your brain and it's in the brain still acting. And maybe you're a little tiny bit anxious sometimes, or you're a little fatigued or someone, or whatever symptom happens. Nothing that you recognize is caused by a strep infection along with the Epstein-Barr virus that's still in your brain. And now these two different infections are going to block your ability because they are in the driver's seat now. If I was driving that rental car and you say, Doc, I need to get back to the airport as quickly as possible. I've got to make this air flight. I got to return the car. I want to make sure we get back without an accident. Don't worry about it. I know the quickest way to go. But instead of taking you there from point A to point B, I say, you know what? Let me show her a more scenic route. I know there's the quick way that she's asking me, but I'm going to take her on the scenic route. Let me take her around and let me take an extra 10 minutes to get there. You want to get there within 5 minutes, but I'm going to take an extra 10. It took 15 minutes. So your goal you're trying to reach in the month or in the year, is you're slowing down, if ever even being able to reach that goal, because you don't realize that you've got certain germs in you that are literally blocking your body's ability to, or your brain, or your being, your magnetism ability to reach that goal. Does that make sense? You kind of grasp what I'm saying? So when we're able to find, I'm sorry?
I just said fascinating.
Yeah. So when we're able to find, with certain emotional steps that I created in my type of exam, I can find if somebody is negative, meaning they're not believing that statement, or if it's a positive that they truly believe. There's a way to do this with a certain reflex analysis that we figured out to use. And reflexes that doctors use, it's very similar to like somebody hit you in the knee with a reflex hammer. You know what that happens. You can see it and feel it in your body. If somebody put a light in your eye, if you've ever had an eye exam, I wear glasses, I've had an eye exam. Somebody turns a light in your eye, we see you don't see as the patient. Have you ever had an eye exam before?
Yeah.
Right? The light in the eye, what the doctor can see is the pupil reflex occurs. Take away the light, the pupil reflex disappears, because the light was there stressing the brain and the eye, made a muscle tension happen that the doctor can observe. Take away the light, the reflex disappears. The patient doesn't see that reflex. The patient doesn't feel it happen in his or her own eye, but the doctor can watch it happen. So there are reflexes that we're familiar, nerve to muscle reflexes, just like in the pupil or in the knee. The people can always feel if there's a reflex with the leg, but the knee reflex, we feel it, we see it in our body. The pupil, you don't see it happen. You go in the sun, you go to a dark room, you go to a computer, you don't see your pupil change size. So there are reflexes that we're familiar with that doctors know about that patients don't really see or happen, just like I said about the people. There's other reflexes. I won't mention all the others, but I discovered with a unique reflex analysis where I'm able to tell if that person is truly, when they make a certain statement, I'm happy I've earned $10 million this year. And they're praying on it for the past 5 years, and they're meditating on it and writing messages, and they're taking pictures and vision boards, and they're looking at all these things and taking seminars and implementing all these strategies in their business. Yet they don't believe that they could really make that 10 million in a year. And now I found the reason is because there's the strep and the Epstein-Barr that's blocking the brain. Now they take these unique quantum energized formulas that are specifically designed, customized for them, that will literally, without a medicine, rid the strep and the Epstein-Barr from the brain. Now I'm able to see when I retest them. Now I'm happy I'm earning $10 million a year. Now it's true to them. You understand? So we shouldn't be stressed by the goal that we have our mind on. We should be in agreement with it, because if we are blocking that, we're not magnetically attracted to it. Does that make sense, what I just said to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to set up your mind and physically, both physically and in your environment, but doing the journal exercises and taking inspired action and all that, it works together. So what's something that maybe they can't come to your clinic right this second, but what's something that somebody could do to start to change or,
that's a good question. So I'll tell you, very good. Thank you for asking that. And I know, because for me, I'll tell you, it is, it's not that people can't, it's that somebody just still has a block in maybe realizing that this could really be true. Is it too good to be true? That's the first time I ever heard that. Nobody ever talked that way before. I don't know, where did he figure that out? And why do I have to go to him? Aren't there other people in the world doing this? Can I just go to somebody local? I haven't taught anybody this work. So first, number one. But number two, there are, without somebody knowing actually what's in them that's triggering the block from that attraction, and all the other steps that you just said, having the journal and having their goal setting and have all that mind, the meditation, all of that is really important. Excuse me. It's just, I wouldn't know, is it mold that's in their brain? Is it mercury that's in their brain? Is it a virus or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 viruses in the brain? I don't know that. So people can get on certain supplement regimens. People can follow good diets and exercise. But without, when I mean supplements, there are certain supplements out there that are using different herb type of formulas that are supposed good strategies to reduce the viral load in the body, or to reduce a mold in the body, or mold toxins in the body. So there are certainly some things that can be effective, but without knowing exactly what is the block or series of blocks, I don't know exactly which ones to tell somebody to utilize. that's something that I may take some time to try to figure out, but I know with this, we're able to just customize it perfectly because what we find in the exam. But there are certain supplements that people can use to reduce the viral load or to reduce a mold or so on. So they may be able to look into something like that.
Got it. Awesome. And what would you say, how people could go to your clinic, get in touch with you, find you online, all that good stuff?
Thank you for that offer. My website is my name, Dr. for doctor, drlonnieherman.com. I could spell it, or unless you're going to put that in the show notes and let them see that link.
Yep.
Okay, so that'll be in there. So on my website, I do have, number one, there's an FAQ page at the top right on the kind of bar at the top of the screen. On the right side, it says FAQ, frequently asked questions. So in there, the most common asked questions: where we located, what's their investing in the type of care that I offer, what type of exams am I offering. It's also what hotels are here and so on. How long does it take to go through the exam, which is just one day. People fly in one day, fly out same day and go back home, or fly in one day from another country, they fly out next day, or they stay for a couple of days in Florida and then fly home. There's a page on my website that I created, this there is an environmental stressor page, but the emotional exam page. So people can look at that and get a bit more of a gist of what I'm talking about here. I talk about some exam findings, which I gave a mention before, like an Epstein-Barr or a strep in the brain. But we've got patients on there with anxiety, no more; depression, no more. It's really fascinating. But with this quantum success project, literally is one thing that we're creating with this to help people who do know that they've done. Listen, there are people who've done all the right meditation, all the journaling, and they've had coaches and they've reached their goals. But there are still some people who just why am I blocked? What the hell is going on? Why? And somebody can. Let me just point out one more thing, is that people can be sabotaging because the way that their parents were. Not knocking their parents, but maybe the parent lost the business and it's so deeply ingrained in that person's psyche from when they watched their parents struggle with everything from the time that they were like little kids, and they're stuck in that pattern too. So there's a certain way to remove that. Okay, back to this. On my website, look at the emotional page. There's a free copy, of my ebook that they can download and get more information about this. On the website, every page has a book appointment. They can just click on that and see how to make an appointment here. And literally, again, the FAQ, as I said before, there's all those frequently asked questions are all answered right there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lonnie Herman, and awesome to hear about the Quantum Success Project. Thanks again.
You're welcome. I appreciate you having me on here and sharing this with everybody.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.